Lila Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON VBT Pandacharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namachaya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Ayodhya Dhama Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sama Veda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai. Cow Protection Ki Jai. New Govardhana Farm Community Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Agnati Nirandasya Kananjaya Shalakaya Chakshu Unitamena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you, Shri Prabhupada. So we continue. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 41. The chapter is called Answers by citing the Lord's version. So, text 41. Tam narada priyatamo riktadanam anuvrataha shushushamanaha shilena prashrayena damena cha tam narada priyatamo riktadanam anuvrataha shushushamanaha shilena prashrayena damena cha tam naradaha priyatamo riktadanam anuvrataha shushushamanaha shilena prashrayena damena cha tam unto him Naradaha, the great sage Narada, Priyatamaha, very dear, Rikhatad Adanam, of the inheritor sons, Anuvrataha, very obedient, Shushu Shamanaha, always ready to serve, Shilena, by good behavior, Prashrayena, by meekness, Dhamena, by sense control, Cha, also. Translation. Narada, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness and sense control. Please repeat. Narada, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father. His father strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control. There is no purport to this verse, so I'll just continue the next verse. Text 42. Mayam vividishan vishnor mayeshaya mahamunihe mahabhagavato rajan pitaram prayotashyayat. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Narada, very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and the greatest of all devotees, O king. Please repeat this. Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma, being the creator of all living beings in the universe, is originally the father of several well-known sons like Daksha, Chatusanas, and Narada. In 3 departments of human knowledge disseminated by the Vedas, namely fruitive work, Karma Kanda, transcendental knowledge, Jnana Kanda, and devotional service, Upasana Kanda, Devarshi Narada inherited from his father, Brahma, devotional service, whereas Daksha inherited from his father fruitive work. Sanaka and Sanatan, etc. inherited from their father information about Jnana Kanda, or transcendental knowledge. But out of them all, Narada, described here as the most beloved son of Brahma, because of good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render service unto the Father. And Narada is famous as the greatest of all sages because of his being the greatest of all devotees. Narada is the spiritual master of many famous devotees of the Lord. He is the spiritual master of Prahlad, Dhruva, and Vyasa, down to the forest animal hunter Kirata. His only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, all these features of Narada make him the dearmost son of his father, and all this is due to Narada's being a first-class devotee of the Lord. The devotees are always anxious to know more and more about the Supreme Lord, the Master of all energies. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.9, Machita Matkata Prana Bodhayanta Prashparam Katayantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, and his energies are also unlimited. No one can know them completely. Brahmaji, being the greatest living entity within this universe, and being directly instructed by the Lord, must know more than anyone within this universe, although such knowledge may not be complete. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to ask about the unlimited Lord from the spiritual master in the disciplic succession of Brahma, which descends from Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasa to Sukadev, and so on. I'll read the verse again. Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. When I'm reading the purports of Srila Prabhupada, I like to read it very slowly, because as we read in these sentences, it's so deep. I was just listening to one lecture by Srila Prabhupada that his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, often lectured 3 to 4 months, just one verse of Bhagavatam. Just one verse, to fully comprehend or realize these verses, one by one. So much analysis, so much to say. so deep, transcendently deep. So, and when we read in Srila Prabhupada's purports, also very deep and meaningful. So we should give attention to these lines of Srila Prabhupada's realizations. Because reading his books, basically we're reading the realizations of the great Mahabhagavata, Srila Prabhupada. We may not understand everything right away, but we gradually, by his mercy, we also understand things, realize things. So this is a very important verse in relating to being a disciple, accepting a spiritual master, and being like Narada, exhibiting the extraordinary qualities of a disciple: meekness, humility, obedience to his guru, Brahmaji. And obviously Naradaji is not an ordinary soul. He's showing us all these great personalities, extraordinary personalities, showing us the way, showing us how to be a disciple. The word disciple comes from discipline. Discipline. So when we are calling ourselves disciples of such and such a spiritual master, the first thing coming to our mind is discipline, obedience. And as we read, as we recite the 10 offenses in the morning, that one of the offenses actually, it's a serious offense, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. So once we commit ourselves, once we promise things, we expect it to follow through in the most humble state of mind. And so this is the meaning of accepting a spiritual master, that we actually discipline ourselves to him and to his divine instructions, just like Naradaji to Lord Brahma. Narada could clearly understand the position of Lord Brahma as the celestial father of this universe. He's the ultimate father, the creator of this universe. He's the engineer of this universe, under the order of the Supreme Lord Krishna, Lord Narayana. And the way Lord Brahma manifested in this world is also extraordinary. Not all jivas can just do that. Coming out of the navel of Lord Vishnu and deep meditation and transcendental realizations. It's a gradual process when we came to the realization of Lord Krishna and his intimate pastimes and the ultimate goal of life, and solving these problems of material existence. So Naradaji took him very seriously, and to the point that he became one of the greatest spiritual masters in Brahma Sampradaya. To the point that Srila Vyasadeva took shelter of him. That's something. Vyasadeva himself is Krishna manifesting to compile the Vedas and prepare humanity for thousands of years ahead, recording the Vedic literature, which is recorded sound vibration. As we all know, that the Vedas were memorized. It was a more hearing and chanting. They heard from the spiritual master and they passed it on without any change. It is very important. That's the other thing, being a disciple, that we don't change. If the spiritual master says, follow 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, and we should humbly take it and do it. Otherwise there's no point to accept the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada says many times in his lectures and audio recordings about the topic of accepting a guru. It is not a fashion. It is not a fashion. It is actually a serious thing. If provided, if you want to actually make advancement and realize the self, come to the point of self-realization and return back home, back to Godhead, we need the help of a powerful teacher. And Srila Prabhupada is a great Mahabhagavata spiritual master. He's like our grandfather for most of us. And he's giving us Divya Jnana, transcendental knowledge. And this knowledge is also represented by his senior, very dear disciples who continue the line, and they may have their own mood and projects, and we take shelter of them and we serve them. So we are humble servants of the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master, and ultimately Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And that way the process is complete, and this is the way to really please the Supreme Lord. We cannot jump over, we have to be humble. One of the most important aspects of spiritual life is humility, meekness, humbleness. Whether we understand things properly or not, somehow or other we take shelter. Dear Krishna, dear Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, please give me enlightenment. Let me realize these topics, very deep topics. And we have to pray, almost like begging the spiritual master, please, Krishna, Guru and Gauranga, please help us to realize this. Not to take it for granted, and take it very seriously and sincerely. So when we read these purports, we have to have not only own reverence, but prayerful mood. Because it's not easy to understand some things. And we are in a material world, and we're not so clear unless we are reminded every day, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya, constantly hearing the Bhagavata Katha. So it is a tradition amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas that the Srimad Bhagavatam is recited regularly, along with the Bhagavad Gita, of course, because these are the fundamental knowledge of our spiritual advancement. Without Bhagavad Gita, without the mercy of the Lord, without Krishna's message, without Bhagavatam, we cannot understand the science of Krishna consciousness. So we have to be very sincere sadhakas, sincere students of Krishna consciousness. And Narada's example, how he accepted his father as a prime guru, Brahmaji, and is glorifying his position. And these are very clear statements that one should have full faith in the spiritual master. And there is a statement in one of the Upanishads, I think, it says, those who have implicit faith in the words and teachings of the spiritual master, all the importance of Vedic injunctions will be revealed. So if we have that sincere faith in the words of our spiritual master, there will be an impact. We get that seed of devotion, we get the understanding. Krishna consciousness is not a mechanical process, although it appears to be mechanical because we follow rules and regulations. But everything has to be done in a prayerful mood. Beg for the mercy, because ultimately all happens by mercy and blessings. We're not the doers. Everything just happens by the grace of Krishna. We have the opportunity here in the Association of Devotees to hear Bhagavad Gita. So if we take it sincerely, Krishna will help us also within Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru is always ready to help us. But we also have to be receptive and willing. It doesn't happen automatically, it doesn't happen mechanically. We pray to Krishna. Krishna is a real person and he's our best friend. And we take shelter of him and his message in the Bhagavatam. And we can see why Narada became so exalted amongst all the sons and disciples of Brahmaji, because he was given the realization of devotional service, which is even more important than so-called transcendental knowledge, because transcendental knowledge can be vague. Just like Sanat Kumar, they were very much involved in impersonal meditation, they got caught up in a partial understanding of reality, but Naradaji got the actual science of bhakti. And we can see famous literatures, scriptures, Narada Pancharatra, Pancharatika Vidhi, which is a very important literature to all sampradaya. Because this is not only samskaras and rituals, but the import and the essence of these teachings. So for example, when we worship the Lord, or follow rules and regulations. That's based on, in a simplified way, in a simplified practice of Pancharatrika Vidhi. We take initiation, we take second initiation, we take shelter of the spiritual master. It's all mentioned in the Pancharatrika Vidhi. There, of course, there are many, many rules and regulations, but the spiritual master gives what we can do in this day and age. Kali Yuga is a very difficult time. So Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga, they're giving us a very powerful, simple formula, Sankirtan Yagna, chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Along with that, we follow rules and regulations, we avoid the 10 offenses, because to fully please the Supreme Lord in His holy name, we have to consciously watch out for offenses. Because we are conditioned souls, and we have a lot of anarthas, unwanted desires. We still have contamination from our past lives, so we work on it. We have to work on it, we have to purify ourselves. And one of the most important is hearing Bhagavatam and chanting the holy names, and of course, the whole process. Everything is important. One time, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, which is more important in Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, everything is important. Accepting a spiritual master, chanting the holy names, serving the Vaishnavas. You cannot separate these things, because they all go together. See? These are the true nature of the soul. We are meant to serve, meant to please the Purusha, the Supreme Lord. That's why we use the term Sanatan Dharma. It's an eternal occupation, it's an eternal nature of the soul. We're meant to please the Supreme Lord through the Vaimedhi of the spiritual master. So Naradaji is glorifying Brahmaji, and of course Narada setting the way for the Brahma Sampradaya. We can see the very powerful teachers, especially setting the way. Brahmaji, Narada, Vyasa, Madhvacharya, very powerful teachers. They're really setting and clarifying any confusion, especially when it comes to Brahmavadi, not to speak of Mayavadi, making sure that the Vaishnava Sampradaya is set on a very strong foundation. So we can be convinced about the importance and the correctness of these teachings. So we're not feeling confused at all. There are all kinds of philosophies which is correct. No. The Mahabhagavata Acharyas, the great personalities, setting the ways for us. Not to speak of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis. They take it to another level when they're helping us to have an access to higher realms of contemplation, devotional service. The pastimes of Krishna, Vrajabhumi, Radha and Krishna. So we are eternally grateful to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Srila Prabhupada, of course, and the Vaishnavas. So we have this formula, devotional service. And it is important. Therefore, one of the important steps, especially for devotees who aspire to take initiation, to search out an authorized, bona fide spiritual master, because that way you have a much better, I would say, custom-made program just for you, apart from the general instructions, of course, which everyone has to follow in Srila Prabhupada's mission. The spiritual master understands, a Jaina spiritual master understands your nature and engages you accordingly for your best interest. The spiritual master is guiding us all the way through back to Godhead. So at the time of death, we are not confused, although we may be inflicted with so much suffering, but our hearts will be fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna. This is how we actually can go back home, back to Godhead, or take another favorable position next life. To go back to Godhead in one lifetime is not easy, but not impossible. Often takes many lifetimes. It's a gradual development, and we take it to different levels every time. Krishna is always placing us into a better position. Nevertheless, only Krishna knows the condition of everyone's heart, where they at, what they think of, what is their devotion. Krishna knows, we don't know. The great devotees amongst ourselves, in a very humble state. Difficult to say. Therefore, it's also important that we are always respectful to the Vaishnavas, not to judge them from the externals. We should respect. Devotees are extraordinary, looking at the whole picture, studying the Bhagavatam. If you study the Bhagavatam carefully, it is very humbling and purifying, to the point that you are so grateful just to be with the devotees, ready to touch the lotus feet and serve. More you understand the Bhagavatam, more you want to serve. This is the real benefit, the real fruit of Bhagavatam. Why great sages glorify the message and teachings of Bhagavatam? Because the ultimate result is pure devotion, which Narada was teaching, pure devotion to Krishna. That's why he's standing up as the greatest devotee. You can see in this purport, Srila Prabhupada make it very clear that to understand Krishna is not even possible. Nevertheless, we can have enough understanding through the mercy of the Lord and Guru, so we can understand self and develop our devotion. What is happening, what is transcendental reality, what we're supposed to do, and how we can develop that love, what we are seeking. Krishna consciousness is really aiming to develop that pure love. We want to love Krishna purely without any disturbances. Not easy. We have some understanding how it works, unconditional, this, that, but really it's something that we have to experience, and it's a gradual process. So one of the most important is also to be patient and have determination. Keep practicing, keep serving the Vaishnavas, hearing about Krishna, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Even reading, good to do it together, because it's a sound vibration. It's not different from chanting. It's actually recorded sound vibration. So it's pure sound. And that's how Brahmaji received the Divya Jnana too, pure sound, transcendental sound. So this is very important for all devotees to hear. Hear in the association of devotees, because that's, you get much more, clarification and realization. And it is, like Srila Prabhupada says, Naradaji was very much engaged, spreading Bhagavad Gita, spreading the mercy of the Lord, always teaching, preaching. It sets the mood for Brahma Sampradaya. You can see that all Mahabhagavata Acharyas, they're all preachers, all great teachers. They weren't just satisfied with ritualistic performances or samskaras or great sacrifices. No, they're very much focusing on helping the fallen conditioned souls. And that's what Srila Prabhupada said also. There's a mission here, mission of Mahaprabhu. So when we help the mission of Mahaprabhu, we definitely are receiving the mercy of the Lord. And so we take up that mood. We try to understand the mood of the spiritual master. What is his mood? Because he's a great devotee like him, not to speak of Krishna himself, they feel pain seeing the conditioned souls suffering and spending their lives, and they don't know, there's no aimless. So a devotee is constantly meditating, how can I be an instrument in the service of my spiritual master? How can I help these conditioned souls? And of course Srila Prabhupada established a means for us. We are very fortunate because we have these books, transcendental books. These books are not ordinary, they are worshipable. One time, I think in the early days, when the devotees were traveling, bus parties, and used to go town to town, especially in America, and the devotees asked Prabhupada, should we have deities in our van or in a bus so we can do puja every day and Mangalarti? And Prabhupada said, just worship the books, because they're worshipable. And they're very merciful. You don't have to do special offerings, but just the book, it just made a point here, philosophical point, that actually these books are not different from Krishna. There is a very deep transcendental message here. And this is the ultimate mercy of our spiritual master, Prabhupada, grandfather. So this is what I can say about this purport. Just about the importance of devotional service. Naradaji's extraordinary example of submission, meekness and humility, and setting the way for the future generations of great teachers, setting the mood, especially Narada, because he's setting the mood even for Vyasa, because Vyasa was very much occupied with satisfying all different people. So he compiled many different kinds of Vedas, Puranas, some in the mode of ignorance, some in the mode of passion, some in the mode of goodness. There are 18 Puranas. So Naradaji had to come and remind Vyasa to give the ultimate conclusion of Vedanta and summarize it. Because this is the real thing, what the living entity needs. Not karma, moksha, all these different aspects of Vedic. Of course they are there, because the Vedas are very complete. But ultimately we are after Divya Jnana, real knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Without that we don't understand anything. We're still on the material platform. Only by the mercy of Vyasa we have the Bhagavatam. And of course that sets the mood for Madhvacharya and continue to the present day. A very powerful message here. And that's why the Bhagavatam is glorified in so many scriptures. The Supreme Purana, Bhagavata Purana, because this definitely gradually leads us to the highest realms of devotional service. So this very, very important. So this is Naradaji and Lord Brahma's relationship. They're setting the ways for us. They're great personalities. They are the pioneers of the Sampradaya. Brahmaji is the head. And Narada and Vyasa, Madhva, you can see a very powerful foundation. Just like when you're building a house, the foundation has to be right. Otherwise, foundation is very important. So we have a very powerful Sampradaya. And not to speak of the great fortune that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to come to this Sampradaya. So he just simply gave another strength, a powerful formula which really needed for this age. And so we can embrace that, we can take shelter of that, and keep chanting the holy names with sincerity, in a prayerful mood. We should not be complacent. Chanting the holy names of Krishna, Sri Nama, is emphasized in many Vedic scriptures, not just in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, but especially for Kali Yuga. It is the most recommended. It is called Yuga Dharma. It has an impact on everyone. And therefore we anxious to do something. We should not be satisfied with minimal service. Let's do something more. Let's go out and help these people. You see Chaitanya Charitamrita and pastimes of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur went door to door and begging everyone, please chant the holy names of Krishna. Bolo, bolo, Hari bolo. And to the point that they were begging, please chant the holy names of Krishna. And they also showing us the great humility and the great compassion a Vaishnava is supposed to develop. Because in the beginning we self-centered. Okay, we practice our chanting, we feel good, we feel happy. But it's not actual devotional service. Actual devotional service is when we just simply work tirelessly for the benefit of others. Doing good to others. Srila Prabhupada said, it's our business to do good to others, to do good things, helping them. There's a lot of suffering going on in many different levels. People are suffering. But when we go out, we develop compassion. See these people. It's so easy to see that they're not happy, there's so much suffering and confusion. So when we do Harinama, book distribution, it's a great service to Srila Prabhupada, because we become instruments of his actual intention, mission, is to relieve the suffering of everyone. And we may not realize it right away, but the Harinam Sankirtan, especially book distribution, Brihat Mridanga, is such a powerful formula. So book distributors, preachers, they do great service. And let's work together, by the way, much easier together. The team of devotees going out, and we also become inspired, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very pleased. One thing I've noticed in the last few months, we're going out Harinams, Shyam, Garuda Prabhu and myself, sometimes only 3 of us, is that the holy name showing extra mercy to us. It's the Lord make himself more accessible than otherwise. It's such an important service. Chanting the holy names for the benefit of others. Wow. There's a lot of shastras on this. There's a lot of glorification about the importance of chanting, especially the congregational chanting. Harinama Sankirtan, Yuga Dharma. So if we have this in mind, we definitely going on the way back to Godhead. We have to have full faith. and the happiness that the devotees feel. Every time we come back, we're so peaceful, pacified. I can't actually explain this. You have to feel this, especially when you go out regularly, consistent. Wow! Every time I sell a book or distribute or tell someone about Krishna, even just one person a day, I feel really happy, because I feel that there's some contribution here, and that person is getting the mercy. We're giving them a chance. So let's do that. Let's work together in helping the fallen conditioned souls. And many so-called difficulties what we have individually and collectively will disappear, because we focused on Srila Prabhupada. We focused on preaching. And everything picks up. Even the farm community. Everything. Because the mood, the consciousness will be uplifted. So this is a very important message here. Naradaji sets the path for us. Preaching, distributing books, teaching people by personal example, and this is it. This is how I attract people, and they may consider, they may analyze it, they want to read these books. So many people coming to the farm, I mean, how can we not preach to them? Somehow we have to tell them about Krishna. And Krishna brings them here. There are some pious people here, punyas, great pious activities in their past lives. And the super soul brings them here. Amazing. And just come to Krishna's farm, take prasadam, even if they come for the yoga class, doesn't matter. They're here in Krishna's farm. So many people become devotees actually gradually. And I'm still in contact with many people who actually were on the farm in different countries. Went back to Germany, France, and they're chanting the holy names, some becoming devotees. There was one French devotee here, probably remember, Ava, yeah. He was a tall boy. He was here for a few months. And right in the beginning I was encouraging him. And he became very quite sincere, coming to the morning programs, and he had to go back because he had some visa issue or whatever. And now he's just about to take initiation, Janananda Maharaj in France, and he's a full-time book distributor based in New Mayapur. Wow! So this is a success story. And there are many others who came through the farm in the last many years, decades. And the idea is to somehow make them Vaishnavas and remain in Prabhupada's family, whether here or there, anywhere. As long as they remain in Srila Prabhupada's family, chant the holy name sincerely, that's the eternal benefit. And we did a great service to helping that person. This is when Krishna and Srila Prabhupada recognizing us. That's why Srila Prabhupada used to make these statements just to encourage the book distributors and the preachers. And really most of our advancement comes from book distribution and preaching, because we get realizations, we become enthusiastic, and every other aspect of our devotional life, like deity worship, cow protection, everything just picks up. They're all important angas, aspects of our Vaishnava community. Everything is important. So devotees who have the opportunity and free time, they should find ways to cooperate with preachers, Harinam Pari, do something, because that way we make advancement. And then we read these pages, purports, then we have much clear understanding, no confusion. We get the essence. All the importance of Vedic injunctions will be revealed. And so this is the great blessings of Naradaji, Brahmaji, and the great Mahavagavatas. Okay. Any questions, comments? Prabhuji, any comments? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.